You know, I hate to say it, but sometimes critics are right. Alright, so I just finished watching the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and I went into it with pretty much no expectations, yet somehow I still came out feeling disappointed by this rushed, soulless, and overall just terribly put together piece of corporate slop. This movie was a roller coaster of emotions, and actually, I'll cut the typical reviewer bullshit. This movie was anything but a roller coaster, and if anything, all it really did was piss me off. Before we get into all of my thoughts on the movie though, I'ma just keep it a buck and say that there are spoilers up the wazoo in this video, but honestly, I would not be too worried about them. Also, if you enjoyed this movie, don't let my opinion shape your view of the film. If you liked it, I'm glad. Anyways though, let's get into my review / rant / bitch session about the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Alright, so it's hard to even know where to begin with this movie because it's all over the place and just a hot mess, but I suppose I'll start at the beginning. So in the first 10 minutes of the movie, Rosalina, Yoshi, and Bowser Jr. are all revealed, and out of those three characters, only one of them actually has major importance to the plot, that being Bowser Jr. Jr. is the main villain of the movie this time around, and I actually liked him fine enough. He definitely could have used some more character development, but I thought his role in the movie was good enough for what it was trying to be. Rosalina and Yoshi, on the other hand, could have been eliminated from the film, and it would have been roughly the same movie. Despite how much they tried to hype these characters up in the trailers, they just didn't have enough importance or pizzazz to be in any way interesting. Rosalina has about 5 minutes of screen time throughout the entire film, and Yoshi just doesn't really do anything. Like, he's kinda just there throughout the entire movie, and the whole time I kinda felt as if he was just a gag meant to appeal to children watching the movie. Outside of these guys, there's also a few other characters introduced that weren't in the first movie, particularly characters like Birdo and Wart, but once again, they just don't serve much of a role. I know that they're intended to have smaller roles, but can someone explain to me why Fox McCloud has more screen time than most of the actual Mario characters in this movie? Listen, I like Star Fox fine enough, and I thought Fox actually had a pretty cool role in this film, but that doesn't warrant him getting 5 times more screen time than Rosalina. I seriously cannot make it clear just how neglected she is in this film. It genuinely makes me mad. They hype up all of these characters just for them to have the lamest, most minuscule of roles. Not to mention that Rosalina is just another damsel in distress, which not only makes no sense considering that she works with Mario in the Galaxy games rather than being the one who needs saving, but it's also about the laziest possible route they could have taken her character in. There was so much potential for Rosalina to be this badass space goddess who helps out Mario and Luigi just like she does in the games, but instead they just made her another helpless princess who needs her mustached plumber boys to come and save her. It makes me wonder why they even bothered with this scene at the beginning of the movie where they show off her sheer amount of strength and all of her cool abilities if they weren't even gonna have her use any of them for something of actual importance later on. Anyways though, that's enough of Rosalina for now, but while we're on the topic of characters, let's go through some of the already established characters from the first film, because let me tell you, they basically half-assed every single one of their plots and character development. Beginning with Mario, he's pretty much the same dude he was in the first film, except now he has this weird crush on Peach that's odd considering Nintendo revealed that they were just friends in an article a while back, but what's more concerning to me is the fact that this plot is never finished. At the beginning of the movie, it's brought up that he may like Peach, and Luigi even teases him about it, but he hardly ever acts on it, and their relationship never goes anywhere beyond just being good friends and companions for the entire film, so it begs the question, why even introduce this random subplot? All it really does is distract from the main story of the film, and it would have been the same movie had they not done this plot at all. And what's worse is that they do this with other characters as well, like with Toad and Yoshi. When Mario and Luigi first introduced Yoshi to Toad, Toad has this odd dislike for him, almost a jealousy that the bros are spending more time with Yoshi than him. And this plot makes a lot of sense, and I would have liked to see it progress throughout the entire film to give Yoshi and Toad some proper character development, except just like with Peach and Mario, the plot quite literally goes nowhere, and suddenly halfway through the movie, it seems as if Toad just doesn't care anymore, and is completely fine with Yoshi being a part of the group. But this isn't even the worst unfinished plot yet, because just for the sake of this movie's progression and nearly non-existent story, it is revealed that Princess Peach and Rosalina are sisters? What? Okay, this has gotta be a joke, right? This movie did release on April Fool's Day after all, because there is just no way that this plot is real. This has never been an established thing throughout any of the Galaxy games or just any Mario game in general. In fact, this is the first we're hearing about either of these two having siblings at all, yet alone being related to each other. What I actually find funniest about this is after the movie was over, my mom, who doesn't have much knowledge of Mario lore and watched the movie with us, said, "I didn't know that Peach and Rosalina were siblings," to which I replied, "Ha! I didn't either!" And guess what? No one else did as well. They completely pulled this plot out of their ass for the sake of making the story move forward, and for context, if you haven't watched the film, at the beginning, Rosalina is reading a story to her Lumas about Peach, but it's unknown how she even knows who Peach is. So the only reason this storyline of them being siblings is present is because they had to explain how this made sense. So sure, it answers the question of how Peach and Rosalina know each other, but after it's revealed that Peach and Rosalina are siblings, it's never touched on again. And by the way, this reveal only lasts for about 30 seconds and happens before Peach and Rosalina reunite, but even when they do, they never acknowledge each other as siblings and just move on with their lives. Nothing that this movie introduces gets finished, and it leaves me with more questions than answers. Listen, I could slide with Mario having a little crush on Peach, and I suppose Toad and Yoshi having an odd relationship that isn't cleared up is alright. But Peach and Rosalina all of a sudden becoming sisters for the sake of explaining a foggy hot mess of a story is unacceptable. Maybe if this had been built up more throughout the other areas of the movie and actually been touched on for more than 30 seconds when it's finally revealed, this plotline would have been fine, but it's abundantly clear how rushed and last minute this edition was, and for that reason I can't give it any props. I've also seen a few people point out that this couldn't possibly make sense because canonically Rosalina is over 1,000 years old and Peach is like 25, but when they show a flashback of Rosalina and Peach's kids, they don't appear to be very far apart in age, and when we see them as adults, they once again seem to be about the same age, showing that they have grown at the same rate. Ugh. There are about 1,000 things wrong with this particular plot point, and makes me wonder if this movie is even trying to be at all canon with the games. I understand there's a difference between movie canon and game canon, but for God's sakes, Nintendo, you had to have known the community was going to be in an uproar about this. Just look at what happens when you change the Mario Kart formula. Okay, so that's probably enough Rosalina and Peach sistership ranting, but there's random micro-filler plots spread throughout the entirety of this movie that just makes me remember why I hate Illumination. They're a greedy, money-hungry company that can't bear the idea of making a movie longer than an hour and a half because otherwise they'll lose the attention of little kids watching their movies. But with a movie such as this one, it shouldn't just be targeted towards kids, but rather fans of the Mario Galaxy series and just Mario in general. I understand that Illumination is a kids animation company, but I seriously think this movie could have benefited from being longer to give the characters and plots more time to flesh out. I'll talk more on this later on, but for now let's dive more into the overall story of this film. Essentially, Bowser Jr. is searching for his father, Bowser, after not having seen him in years, but he doesn't just want to reunite with him, rather he wants to make him proud. And so he constructs this massive planet with a doomsday machine that he needs the power of Rosalina for in order to make it run. This is of course what causes Rosalina to get kidnapped, and from there the rest of the movie kinda just happens. The entire thing is so incredibly rushed and poorly paced that it's kind of hard to connect with any of the scenes. It's always one thing right to the next, and the movie never sticks with anything for more than a few minutes. I think the best example of this is when the group crash lands on this random planet I didn't recognize, and Mario and Luigi get turned into babies. From here, it's basically up to Toad and Yoshi to protect the baby Mario and Luigi from danger while Fox fixes up the ship they crash landed on, which you would think might be a decently long area of the movie with them trying to fix up the ship and all. And oh, what do you know, Mario and Luigi are back to normal, the Comet Observatory shows up for plot convenience, and they're already off to fight Bowser Jr., all in the span of like 7 minutes. It's scenes like these that really reaffirm why I think this should have been a longer movie, because then scenes like these could have been properly paced, and they could have spent some more time here fleshing out this area of the story. Once again, I know that for the sake of this being a kids movie, they have to move through these areas rather quickly or else the children will get bored, but I think most people can agree that this movie just moved way too fast and is just all over the place. Anyways though, let's back up a little bit. So after Toad and Peach make it into space, they reach the Gateway Galaxy, which if you're not aware is the very first galaxy in Super Mario Galaxy 1, and oh my god, they massacred this place in the movie. In the Mario Galaxy games, Gateway Galaxy is supposed to serve as this quiet, peaceful, and even a little mysterious place to relax in, but in this movie, nope, they completely threw it out the window, and wouldn't you know it, this place is busy as can be. Speaking of busy bees, Honey Hive Galaxy is also here, kinda. Okay, so while all of this stuff with Peach and Toad is going on at Gateway Galaxy, Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, and Minnie Bowser are in the Honey Hive Galaxy, or at least something that's supposed to resemble it. I genuinely couldn't tell because it kinda just looks like a generic flower field with some bees here and there. Anyways, they're here because Peach's castle was abducted with them in it, and by the way, I haven't touched on Bowser's character much yet, but he's here too, and after they shrunk him in the last movie, he's now Minnie, and is just kinda here with the brothers. Except, interestingly enough, Bowser is now trying to be a good guy, and genuinely does seem like one for a while, and even when he convinces Mario to make him large again, which by the way, I have no idea how he got large, literally what happens is Mario stomps on Bowser, thus causing him to grow big, which just, no, what? There literally were no mushrooms involved, and yet Bowser just magically grew big for the sake of the plot moving forward. Very weird. Anyways, Bowser grows big and is still a good guy. In fact, even when they make it to where all the bees are, he offers to stay behind to let Mario and Luigi get a ride to Gateway Galaxy. Except just like most of the other introduced plots in this movie, the trope of Bowser being a good guy gets completely ran over later, and after the Mario Bros and Peach reunite and make it past the one planet where the brothers become babies like I talked about earlier, Bowser has already become a bad guy once again. Essentially what happens is Bowser reunites with Junior, who is still trying to be evil in order to impress his father, and all it takes is a little bit of convincing from Junior to make Bowser go back to being a villain. Now, I think if Bowser genuinely was a good guy throughout all of this film, people would have complained about that as well, because after all, he is the Mario villain, but it just sucks how they build up this plot throughout the beginning of the movie, only for it to be left behind in the span of 30 seconds. Moving on to the last area of the movie though, after the gang of good guys escape the planet where they crash landed on, they make it to the Bowser planet where Bowser, Bowser Jr., and Rosalina all are. This section was probably my favorite area of the movie, which isn't to say that it's good, but comparatively to everything else, it's still a better part of the film. The main reason I enjoyed this area is because there were just a lot of cool references and neat little scenes spread throughout, like when Mario and Peach are parkouring through this corridor of lava and fire bars, and it goes in and out of a 2D Mario Bros. 1 style. After about 5 minutes though, the group makes it to Bowser and Bowser Jr., where they of course fight. A lot of shit goes down here, like Bowser falling into lava and becoming Dry Bowser, the dragon from Mario Odyssey showing up, Luigi and Yoshi pulling some power-ups from Mario Galaxy out of their ass, and some other random questionable stuff as well. But generally, just like the rest of this movie, this fight was rushed and uninspired. I will admit that all of the references here were cool, but it generally just wasn't anything special. While this fight is going on though, Peach goes to rescue Rosalina, or my bad, her sister, who is currently getting her power sucked out of her in order to make the Doomsday Machine run or whatever. And within the span of a minute, she saves her, and the Mario Bros win against Bowser with Mr. Game & Watch for some reason. Finally, they return to the Mushroom Kingdom, are surprised when they see a huge fucking hole where the castle initially was, rebuild it in this 32-bit Mario World montage, and they all live happily ever after. Holy shit, this movie is ass. Everything from the fights to the world building to the characters are rushed and unfinished. The plot is incredibly messy and all over the place. The movie starts more tropes than it finishes, and generally this movie just felt kind of soulless. I really did want to like this movie despite having pretty much zero expectations, but sadly I can't find much of anything to praise it for, and thus I can confidently say that this was a bad movie. A few other things I want to touch on that I thought were odd or just disliked is first of all just how far this movie strains from anything done in the Mario Galaxy game. One thing I was incredibly disappointed by is the lack of actual galaxies they visited in this movie. There are over 90 galaxies throughout both of the Galaxy games, and they went to about 3 in this movie. And what's more is that the galaxies in the games have tons of potential to be used in a movie. For example, Gusty Garden, Dusty Dunes, Sky Station, Supermassive, Rolling Pinwheel, Grandmaster, you name it, it probably could have worked in the movie. In fact, they even talked about needing to reach Space Junk Galaxy in the beginning of the movie, and I don't know if I missed something, but from what I could tell, they never make it there, and is yet another example of this movie introducing plots that it doesn't bother to finish. Maybe I did just miss something, or perhaps they do make it there and I just didn't recognize it, but seriously, why introduce having to go to Space Junk if they're not gonna get there anyways? There's also the matter of how well the movie captures the atmosphere of the games, of which it did not do at all. The Galaxy games have a very mysterious vibe to them that generally enhances the story, but this movie doesn't bring in any of that and is very jam-packed with a story that reflects that. Also, for some reason, Mr. Beast is associated with this movie and did a collab with them for his chocolate brand, and I actually found it randomly before the movie and decided to pick it up, so here's my taste test of those. Alright, so I've got the chocolate for some reason. Let's give it a test. We got, whatever the fuck, Galaxy Cocoa Crunch. I will say I like the packaging on these, kind of neat. We'll see if this tastes any different than the regular Feastables. Let's try it. It kind of just tastes like the other crunch flavor that he has, but, you know, it's pretty good. I don't think there's anything different about this one. It's good, though. And then we got these Yoshi egg thingies, which I'm pretty sure are just, like, peanut butter cups, but white chocolate. Okay, I'm gonna do the influencer thing, where they always be putting their hand in front of it. Well, like... This actually does look pretty cool, though. Let's give it a try. See that now? That's damn good. Okay, that's actually good. Definitely like the peanut butter cups better. This tastes much more adjacent to a Reese's than the other peanut butter cups that he has, because this one's much softer. And I really like the white chocolate, actually. I still don't know why this collab is a thing, but there you go, that's my taste test. Now, I could probably sit here and bitch for another hour if I really wanted to, but instead, I'd rather end the video on a more positive note and discuss some of the things that I did like about this movie, because there were a couple of things that it did correctly. First of all, the animation is beautiful as always, and while I may not like Illumination as a company, they have an amazing team of animators who did an amazing job animating this movie. There's even a couple scenes where the art style changes a little bit, like when Fox McCloud is doing his introduction in this cool 90s comic/anime style, or when Bowser and Bowser Jr. are having a flashback and Bowser is telling Jr. a story with realistic looking sock puppets. Speaking of Bowser and Bowser Jr., another thing I'll give this movie props for is their relationship, which I thought they nailed pretty well, and it stayed pretty true to the games, with Bowser, despite being a villain, still being a good and loving father. Would this relationship have benefited from this movie being longer, thus giving them more time to flesh out these two characters? Absolutely, but for the most part, I thought their relationship was done just fine. Finally, the last thing I'll give major props for is the music, which lands just as hard as it did in the first movie. There's musical references up the wazoo here, and they all fit perfectly. I will say it sucks to see that Bowser doesn't get a solo this time around, but it is what it is. Also, I think most people will generally find the music more favorable in this film simply because it uses less licensed music than the first, which I actually enjoyed in the first movie, but I'm glad they cut back on it for the sake of the general audience. But outside of those few things, I thought that this movie was pretty damn trash, and my final score is a 3 out of 10. If you like Mario or just enjoy watching movies, it's definitely worth checking out this film and forming your own opinions on it, though for me and a lot of others online, I found this movie to be a hot mess with a convoluted plot and story that was all over the place and far too many subplots that it doesn't finish. I think the biggest letdown for me though is just how much I enjoyed the first film, which I'd personally give a 9 out of 10 due to all of the fun references, with many that actually drove the plot forward, as well as far better world building, character introductions, and actual resolutions to subplots that it begins. And although I said I came into this movie with no expectations, my love for the first film just makes it that much more disappointing to see how bad this one is. Anyways though, I think I've done enough bitching for one video, and I want to get this one up before the movie becomes irrelevant in a week, so with all of that, I'm gonna call the video here. If you've watched the Mario Galaxy movie and enjoyed it, don't let my opinions change your view of the film. If you liked it, then I'm happy for you. All I ask is that you don't go writing an essay-length comment about how dumb and wrong I am for not agreeing with you. I do encourage you, however, to let me know your thoughts on the movie in the comments, and maybe we can have some civil conversations about what we liked and disliked. Anyways though, would I recommend the Mario Galaxy movie? No, but if you want to watch it for the sake of forming your own opinions, be my guest. Thank you all for watching this review/rant video. I apologize for it being all over the place, but hey, maybe I took a page out of this movie's book. Okay, but for real though, more content coming soon. Maybe I'll even come back to this movie and make a more in-depth review on it, but for now, I'm signing off. Thank you all tons for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later!